Welcome to another episode of the Renegade Pirate Podcast. And today I got my boy Adam. Tell the people who you is, cuz.
Yeah, my name is Adam Zippel. I'm a traveler and I make videos. I'm a filmmaker as well. And I actually met Daniel 4 years ago in Tokyo while I was traveling. And it's come full circle and I'm back to visit him again now that I'm back in Japan.
He's another one of those emblem guys, Another one of those people I met in Emblem, Hey, we need to do like an emblem party soon.
Yeah, it would be cool. I wish that place didn't go out of business because I was trying to book it again when I was coming back to Tokyo.
Yeah.
I actually searched it up, but it's like completely non-existent on Google now.
No,
So
they destroyed the whole place.
yeah,
The whole place is gone. The whole place is...
it's only in our head, just memories. Yeah, in our hearts. Yeah, exactly.
So what you been up to, man?
Yeah, dude. So this is the end of like a huge trip that I've been taking since November, starting in New Zealand and up through Asia. So yeah, it's the end of like an 8-month long trip.
Yeah, you are on your adventure right now.
That's right, but it's the very end. I only have 3 days left.
3 days left from 8 months.
Yeah.
Alright, so why the adventure? How you got started?
So I did study abroad for a year when I was 15, and that had a huge impact on me.
Where?
In Denmark.
Okay.
So I lived in Denmark for 1 year, and I think that kind of like put me in a mindset that I wanted to travel and I wanted to go to as many destinations as I could at a young age. And I've been kind of like saving for it and planning for it for like 2 or 3 years before I left the States. So it's just been like a priority for me for a long time, you know.
To travel and just like explore the world.
Yeah.
So that gave you like the passion,
Yeah.
right? Then how did other stuff come along?
You mean like the video and the filmmaking and stuff? Yeah, ironically, so like you and I both were working on something creative when we met in 2019. You were doing the podcasting, which full circle we're doing right now.
Right now.
Yeah, man, it's so cool how you can just like wish things into existence like that, you know?
Hard work though.
Yeah, hard work. Yeah. So in 2019, I had like a Canon T6i. I was like just a very simple Canon camera. I didn't know how to dial in any of the settings. I basically shot it on auto the whole time. And I had gone to school for, you know, just like a business degree from Michigan State. And I didn't really do video. I wasn't like trained on it or anything. But that 6 months that I traveled, I really enjoyed shooting and filming. And I wasn't good at editing or anything, but that was probably like the inspiration for me to do film. But it came out later in life when I had to choose a job post-grad, and filming and editing was something that I was interested in doing for work.
Okay.
You know?
So now you have like the intro of why you started and like the passion. So 8 months during, like, how does that even like come up on your like your mindset? Like, how did you even think like, I'm not gonna be leaving my house for 8 months?
Yeah, I think it's oddly enough for the 2 or 3 years coming up, like everything I did in life was for that trip. Like every piece of gear I bought was like, this is light and portable. Gear for my work to make videos for clients. I was thinking like, how can I use this gear when I travel? And I committed to it in a way that not a lot of travelers do, where I like canceled my cell bill. I canceled my car insurance, everything.
You went hardcore.
Yeah, because I knew...
Off the grid, off the system.
Yeah. And we were talking about that. Like, that's not easy because not having a number in the States, I mean, it's hard to get into your bank accounts, hard to contact your family at home.
Yeah, hard for people to call you because they dial an international number, international fee. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh.
But I thought, oh, it's the age of social media. You know, I'll be able to manage just through like social media.
For 8 months, like you've been like dealing with this for 8 months.
Yeah.
Bro.
Well, it's bigger than that, really.
Really?
Because I did 8.5 months in South America. That was when I was, when I was 25, I started this whole trip. Okay?
So this is like an extension.
This is like nearly 2 years, yeah.
The plot ticket.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Asias has been 6 months.
8, yeah. Just this region has been 8.
Before that.
Yeah, it was South America. So this was like at the height of the pandemic. You know, everything was closed. I had already worked for a couple of years saving money. My mind was like already ready to do the travel. Like I knew it was just like picking the right time to jump off. And nothing was open over here in Asia. Obviously, I wanted to come back to this region. This was like one of my favorite regions, backpacking of all time. But what was open? South America. You know? So Costa Rica, that was the first country I went to.
The happiest place on earth. Why is it
Very
called,
happy.
Why is it called the happiest place on earth?
Pura vida mai, you know? Pure life. That's what they say. Beautiful rainforest, like, that's an excellent country, you know?
Really?
It was a good start to my trip.
Okay, so Costa Rica, little on the tip, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Or the southern tip. Yeah, right, it borders with Panama.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I did Costa Rica, and that was a great introduction to Latin America because they speak Spanish, but they also speak quite a bit of English compared to other Central South American countries.
Also Portuguese, right?
No Portuguese in Costa Rica.
Oh, okay.
That's just Brazil.
Okay. Ah.
Brazil is actually they don't even speak Spanish, or they might speak a little, but it's all Portuguese in Brazil.
Wow.
It's the only like country that breaks that Spanish rule in South and Central America.
Huh.
Yeah.
So everywhere else is Spanish and slightly English.
Mm-hmm. But slightly English, like really slightly, you know? Like there is not much English being spoken in like Colombia or Ecuador. Very little.
Okay, so from Costa Rica, where next?
Yeah, so then I went to Panama and up to Guatemala. And that ended my Central America time. And then next country was Colombia. So then I went to Colombia. I lived in Medellin for 2 months. I got like an apartment and took a Spanish school because I was struggling with Spanish so much in Central America. And in South America, it really hit me that like if I don't learn the fundamentals, I'm not going to have like a good time navigating through here.
So you spent like how long in the school?
2 months. Well, I did 1 month self-learning. I did Duolingo. I was watching videos. There's like a YouTube channel called Dreaming in Spanish where he speaks like childlike level of Spanish, and you just listen to it, and over time you begin to understand what he's saying, which is like immersion. So I used my own tactics for 30 days, and I did Duolingo every day, a couple hours a day. And then I went to a Spanish school, and that like I broke through a lot more in that time. And then boom, did a month of Colombia, like just travel, you know, back to travel life. Went to Peru, did a month and a half there, and did Machu Picchu trek and Juarez, a couple other big multi-day treks. I did a trek in Colombia called the Lost City. It's like, I think it's a 3-day, 60K trek through the forest.
All right, so
Yeah.
before we get too deep, like going to school when you're a kid doesn't push you on the path of doing a 3-day tour. Like,
No.
like what's in your mind when you're thinking of like planning a 3-day tour, bruh?
Yeah. Okay, so you're right. Like, you don't get any of that, any like exposure to that kind of hiking or trekking when you're a kid. And the most I've ever done was like, several hour hike, you know, maybe like 8 hours or something, a full day.
Okay, yeah.
But you don't like sleep out there or
Yeah.
anything.
You maybe go there 4 hours and come back 4 hours.
Yeah.
Something like that,
Isn't that the strange thing about being a traveler though? You get to a new destination and they're like, "Are you hiking up to the volcano?" And I'm like, "Hiking up to the volcano?"
You know you could do that. Okay.
Yeah. That's exactly how it went. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm wearing like some old ratty Adidas, like not hiking clothes. I don't have like a proper backpack. Everyone's got like boots that are like $700. Like the Swiss guys got like their hiking poles, and everyone's like very prepared.
Barely prepared.
I'm not prepared at all. Yeah.
So okay. It had to be fun, because if it wasn't fun, you won't be hiking anytime soon. Right?
For sure. I think I found that those parts of travel they're deeper and more meaningful than going to cities, which I love, like all types of travel, the conventional style, and then like you getting lost in the mountain for 4 days. But there was something deeper about it. Like it hurt. You suffer a little bit, like through the hike.
Painful.
Yeah, dude. There's a bit of suffering, but you like look back on it with like such a, you know, rose-colored glasses. Like you just think it was such a great time, and they have such a big impact.
Yeah, because I think like you have like those trips or those parts of the adventure when you're like you're sick, you have traveler's diarrhea, you can't get up, your body's hurting you, and you actually like just take that little step forward. It's all worth it, you know. You can have like 20 hours of like torture and just 1 hour of beauty and serenity, and it's all worth it. So is that like the kind of case for you?
Yeah. You know, like Mount Fuji is a great example.
Okay.
Where like right now we're 2 hours away from Mount Fuji, and there's a lot of tourism at Mount Fuji, but when you get up to the mountaintop, which I did in one day, like up and back.
Yesterday.
Yeah, 2 days ago. Like you're not going to see as many people up there because it's hard, you know. So 95% of the people, they stay at the base. And if you're part of the 5%, and it might not even be that, it's like 2%, you know, who's willing to suffer to get up to that top, like you get this view of the world that is rare.
How long did it take you to like get up there?
I think it took me like 6 hours straight going up, and then 2 hours to like go around the crater of the volcano.
So that means, right? You're telling me that like 98% of the people that was like at the bottom did not want to invest 6 hours of their time and energy to come.
It's 10 hours. You gotta come back down.
Plus the 2.
Yeah.
I think that's a good analogy of life, you know?
It is, dude. It is.
Wow, so it's like, and there's nobody up there.
There,
like a few people.
There is a few, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So how's the view up there? Like,
Oh, it's crazy. Like you can really see the landscape 360. Like as you walk around the crater, you can see maybe a couple kilometers out because we got good visibility. It was very clear.
Yeah. The other day it was nice and clear.
Blue sky the whole day.
So you got to see like the whole Japan.
That's right.
Coast to coast.
However, when you hike, you know, you get a lot of rainy days as well. So, and you can't plan for it, right?
True.
In the morning, it was rainy and cloudy that day.
Yes.
Like by the base of the mountain, it was cloud cover.
I know it was hot. Was it hot that day too?
No, not up there though. It's cold up there. Must have been like, you know, 10, 15 degrees Celsius or something.
Like a jacket?
Yeah, I brought all the coats
So
and
you
stuff.
were prepared this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you sleep up there, you need to have like winter clothing, like hat, gloves, full coat. Like you gotta be prepared. Yeah.
So this wasn't like your first trip?
No.
When you were doing it to South America?
In Adidas's, yeah.
Let's continue back with the South America.
Yeah.
South American trip.
With my like first Adidas unprepared hike, you know? Yeah. The first big one was maybe in Costa Rica. There was a volcano. You can hike up to the top and swim in a crater lake at the top.
So on top of the volcano, there's a crater and there's a lake inside.
It's full of water, yeah. The crater is full of water. Like if you see it from drone perspective or from like Google Maps, it's just a huge volcano and at the top a lake. And you swim in it and you get to the top.
That's cool.
A refreshing swim. I don't know what's living in that thing, dude. There's probably some shit living in that, you know?
So extraterrestrial.
Yeah. We're like swimming and someone's like, oh, something touched my leg. And I'm like, don't say that. Don't say
I
that.
was like, that's all the way up there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it takes like, that one takes like four hours and it's like just straight up, you know? Then you take like an hour to swim, eat something. Then you go the 4 hour decline, which is in the mud. Like there's no trail. It's just like a dirt, muddy path, you know.
Damn.
And when it rains, like you just slip and people are slipping and falling all over the place, you know.
And you have gear with you?
I brought my drone at that time. Yeah. I brought like GoPro, drone, anything I could use that was like light enough to carry.
Alright, continue.
Yeah. So that was like one of my first brushes with trekking. And I did MMA and jiu-jitsu and all that, and I'm fine like pushing myself physically. And I think that lent itself really well to me doing these hikes. Like I feel like this life is meant to be used up, not meant to be protected. And, you know, I don't need to be careful all the time. Like I want to live a healthy lifestyle, but I also want to use my health for this type of thing. I think it's a perfect example for using it. Yeah. And then I just got fascinated with these hikes. And so like every country I went to, that became like the theme. And there's a lot of trekking in Central and South America. So next thing you know, I did the dormant volcano with a lake. I'm doing in Guatemala like Acatenango trek, which is like a actual exploding volcano. You hike up one volcano, and across from it, you see one that explodes. You know, every
smoke and everything.
Yeah, lava. And that was like amazing. Like I thought this is some shit I would see in science class.
Yeah.
I never thought I was gonna actually like sit and be at the base or near a volcano that's exploding.
That is crazy. Terrifying, I bet.
A little bit, yeah, because eventually that thing's gonna blow, like big time blow. Yeah.
You want shelter, umbrella or something. Damn.
It's gonna rain down, you know.
Okay, so after there, where next?
Yeah, so that was in Guatemala. I came home for Christmas after that, which was good. And then right after that, I head off to Colombia, and that was like a whole different style, like very different than Central America.
So you went from Central, came back home, then went back Central again?
Yeah, no, to South.
Okay.
And what's crazy is that was a $90 flight, you know.
From the States?
Yeah. It was like, I think it was Detroit, Florida, Columbia, one way. Spirit Airlines, of course.
When you say Spirit, nothing surprises me.
Yeah. It's the worst airline, but it's also the cheapest.
Have you heard of Zip Air?
I think so, yeah.
The new one that goes from the States to Japan?
Yeah. I was looking at some of those flights because it was comparable to mine. I got like American Airlines or something. I hope they can put those prices down and it can become like easy to go from like Cali, like from where you're at, out to Japan, you know?
Yeah, because now Zip Air is the Spirit's version of airline, and you have to pay for everything. They don't give
no
you
luggage.
food.
Oh shit! On a 12-hour flight.
Yeah, you pay for your own food, you pay for your own pillows, you pay for your own everything.
Wow.
Literally pay as you go.
Yeah. So then I started doing South America, and again, that's like a whole nother vibe from Central. The only thing that's similar is like the Spanish, but I think the type of travel you do is different. Peru, which I recommend to you, to me is one of like the most magical and inspiring destinations like of my time in South America.
Why Peru?
Because you can like experience so many different climates. Like you think of Machu Picchu when you think of Peru, but there's also snow-capped mountains. There's like completely pure blue lakes at the base of like a glacier melting into a pure blue lake. And this isn't like something like take a picture and add saturation. Like it's that color blue, you know? And people don't know that there's all these other landscapes that are part of Peru. And if you do the hikes, like in 5 days, you can see like 4 or 5 different, like it looks like different planets. Like each day you're in a new world.
Is Godzilla coming?
I think so, dude. All right, we're back. There was Matsui today. So there was like a big festival in the street with a loud drum.
Yeah, we thought Godzilla was coming to attack.
I thought it was the reckoning. It's all over, you know? Judgment Day has come.
From Japan, you know, as if you're in the States, that means you're in the past. So where in the future we'll experience it before they actually get to.
Oh yeah, we are in the future. Yeah, how many hours? I think it's like 13 from me, from Michigan. Cali's a little bit different.
Like 16 hours because isn't that weird? Like there's time zone in America. Like each state.
It's so big.
It's so big that like each state has a different time zone. All right, we were talking about Peru. I remember now.
Yeah.
Talking about Peru.
Yeah. So Peru, I did a couple big treks, and I made So then I got done with that trip. I went back to the U.S. to like prepare myself to go out again, but this time to Asia. Because when we're talking Central South America, these are all like 4-hour flights from home. You know, like this is all close. It's like, you know.
Okay. I never really thought about it, especially if you're on the East Coast. You're just going from where you are to Florida down. It's like really right down there. Okay.
Same time zone.
Yeah.
It's not like too outlandish.
But coming to Asia is on the other side.
Yeah.
Ooh.
When you fly over that big blue Pacific, like you're entering a new domain.
How long is the flight to South America, like Peru?
I flew to Colombia first, so I think that took like 3.5 hours from Detroit, and then from Colombia down is probably another like 3.5, so it might be like 7 hours or something. But I didn't fly direct, so I made my way down. Colombia's big though. It takes a long time to traverse Colombia, whether it's on a plane or in a bus or whatever.
So how do you do like visas? Do you get like visas on entry?
Yeah, so I kind of picked countries that like I have 30-day visa-free entry. So both Colombia and Peru were like that. I've only ever had to do that with like Vietnam. I needed like a proper visa.
So you have to apply and get the visa.
Take the paperwork with you. Otherwise, you can get denied when you reach Vietnam. So there's some countries where you're just on the tourist path, and you're like, I want to go here, and you're like, oh no, I need to apply for a visa. So it's so important to look that stuff up before you head, because you can buy a ticket and not know that there's a visa associated with that country.
They want to sell you the ticket. They want to take your money, so they will definitely.
They'll take your money.
Take your money, but wow.
And the airport will send you home. Yeah.
That's messed up. Would they even allow you to fly there?
Yeah. They might mistakenly allow you to fly there, for sure.
Yeah, you're just screwed at the airport waiting.
Yeah. So like my first realization was when I went to Australia in 2019, around the time that I met you. The first country was Australia.
Yeah.
And I got to the airport and I didn't. Like when I signed up for my visa, I think I didn't use my middle name on the application, and they're like, "Oh, this does not match your passport, so we cannot put you on this flight today." And they put me on the next one 24 hours later. I had to go home, apply for the visa again, pay another fee. I think it was like $40 with my middle name, my full name, and then I went back to the airport and it matched up. So I've made like my fair share of mistakes with visas.
So South America, Peru.
So I get done with Peru and I go back home to the States and I live with my girlfriend in Iowa because she got a full-time job there teaching. And so that was a really nice time. I got to spend time with my girlfriend again. I got to work on some of the videos that I had been saving up that I needed editing.
All the time you're traveling, you're just recording as much as possible.
Yep. Like building up as big of a bank as I can, so that I have like ammunition when I get home. Yeah, because like the creativity never stops, but when you're at home, it's harder to produce creative content, for me at least. Like, but if I develop like this huge bank of content, I can go home and have projects for the weekend or whenever, you know.
You've already shot all this down.
Yep.
Okay.
So I like rehash all the files because I'll like organize it as I'm traveling. You know, like this experience, this country. And then I open up that country and I'm like, okay, which file should I look into? Oh, and that brings me to like the creative process.
Okay.
So I'll explain like what I do to make a video. Because I'm just traveling and enjoying it. I'm not like, let me go to Japan and hike Mount Fuji and I'm gonna film the whole time and I'm gonna vlog it out. Like that isn't how it goes. I just naturally experience the trip and film. When I get back, I can look at that footage and say like, which of these has a compelling story? You know, some of the shit I filmed, there was no compelling story. No video needs to be made about it. But if I'm like, wow, this was a great experience, like you put that into words. So I'll start by looking through all the footage and compiling what I think are the most important moments from a story perspective or the most beautiful, visually appealing. Because again, I still like, you know, videography and cinematography. Yeah.
So do you do that like in your folder or do you put that in a timeline? Like how do you do
Timeline in Final Cut.
Okay.
So I pull up the files and I start dragging in what I think are important story elements or just visually appealing shots. And I try to condense that down. So usually there'll be like 10, maybe 20 minutes of footage. The video is going to end up being 1 minute. Yeah. And I probably shot 30, 60 minutes total.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, because that's what editing's all about, you know?
That's the sweet part of editing. You
Yeah.
know? You have a 4-hour video where you've just recorded a bunch of stuff, then you take it to the timeline, then you chop it up, then you have like 6 minutes and like, all right, this 6 minutes is what I have. Then you take that one and you start cutting it, and next thing you know, you have like 15-second reel, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes it kills my heart.
It does.
Because like there's so many good shots that like never make the final draft.
Yeah.
You know? And like I've had so many nights I'm dreaming about like, oh, I'm gonna do this with the shot, I'm gonna do that with the shot, and they never, like, I spend more time than necessary messing trying to achieve something, but at the end of the day I will just scrap it and just put another clip and be like, there you go, I am done, finished, fuck you, get out of my life. Do you get like that?
Yeah. So I think it's like you got to be able to let go of some of the clips that you shot. It's that feeling of like, I want to keep it all in there that ruins your end product. And that's like the most painful aspect about it.
Painful.
You're like, let me fit in all these beautiful shots, but then you don't condense it down and distill it the way it's meant to be distilled.
How do you like, we already got like how you record it and then you do most of the stuff at the end, but like what is like your mindset when you're like, you sit down, you've organized everything, you got the feeling of like, maybe I'm even like putting too much, like once you have everything in your timeline, what do you do next?
Yeah, so after I like organize the timeline and distill it as much as I can, I'll probably end up with like a minute and a half. The end product should be like 45 seconds, but it'll be a minute and a half of raw footage. Then I just keep watching back and looking through that footage and begin writing. So in the beginning in the writing, it's not like, I don't focus on the making sure like the details are all there. I just write the story like naturally, the way I'm speaking to you right now, you know, as honest as I can remember the experience. I just write it. And then I look back and say like, okay, I got to research some of this. Like I need to pronounce this city name properly, or the volcano, you know, I need to say how many meters it was, you know, like the facts. So then I'll like fact check my writing so that like which is great. I end up learning something about what I did in detail.
Yeah, because now you're even adding more to your experience of the play because you're like, oh, I didn't know this was it.
Yeah, so you got to educate yourself as you go to like make sure you're depicting it properly. There's your memory and then there's the reality of what you did. And so I get the facts straight and I make sure that that's properly worked into my story. And then from there, I'll either cancel some sentences. You know, like this part, it's unnecessary. Like with the Machu Picchu one, there was like a part where there's a bunch of baby pigs and we all like sat and pet the pigs. But that wasn't integral to the story. But I remember it was a fun moment.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't need to be in there for my explanation of the trek. And so there's things that I'll distill it again. So it's like a process of distilling like over and over again.
So you edit first.
Mm-hmm.
Once you...
This is all before I've put anything on the mic, you know? Nothing's been produced in reality at this stage.
I like that. Because for me, I try to do it the other way around where I think first. Try and sketch something out, then play around it, then where I find like I cannot do, that becomes like my conflict zone,
Okay.
So you doing it the other way makes me like, wow, this blows my mind, because you just edit it to how you feel you like it, then you tell a story based on that video.
Yeah, like solidifying it after the fact. And so your process is more like you already know what it's going to be and you try to just, okay.
So like, for example, I'm going to the temple. I know I'm going to record me going to the temple, but while I'm going to the temple, you might say, let's go to so place. Now that diverts me from now to going to the temple to going to somewhere else. Am I still going to go to the temple? I don't know.
It's part of the story,
it's
right?
Part of the story. So for me, I have to think what my main goal is first. If I don't have a main goal, it's hard for me to actually record anything.
Oh, okay. Oh, so yeah, you do it maybe the proper way.
Don't quote
me. No, not the proper way, but like I think that is kind of how, like when I direct something, like if I'm directing like a music video or something, it's got to happen more like that.
Yeah.
You know.
But I like your procedure because you are experiencing it firsthand. You're not thinking about anything video related. You're just solely experiencing the whole journey, and your camera is there just as like, that's really nice. It's not like you're thinking of, I need to do this.
Like I must get A, B, and C shots before I end the day, and I'm pulling out my phone and checking the list, which I am doing when I'm producing a video, like for a client.
But not for yourself.
No, because I'm trying not to adulterate my experience as a traveler. Because lots of people will tell me like, would you want to like work and travel at the same time? And they could be all right, but like for me, the travel in itself is a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to become something that it's not. I don't want to be working remotely and then have 2 hours at the end of the day. If I can try to do this long form stuff, this travel completely freely, it's beautiful in itself,
Yeah. That's a nice perspective of thinking about it, because you're experiencing it, you're there, you're live, you're having fun, and your story is just a reflection of how you felt. So that's because I was thinking, how do you put the emotion into your videos? Because when I watch your videos, I feel like I'm like, the one that comes to mind is the one where you jumps from the bridge.
Oh yeah.
I think I watched that like 100 times, like back to back, because I felt like I was there with you, jumping that.
Like you're just one of the friends that was there that day, hopping off the bridge.
I was like, how did you but when you're explaining it, like I can see like you were there, you had fun, your camera was rolling, you might have passed it to somebody, but like the camera was rolling, but you didn't really care about the camera. You're like, whoa! That was really, really cool, because for me, it's like the emotion, like watching it. Even when I think I showed a couple of friends, and they're like, we should go there, Daniel. And I'm like, yeah, I should hit him up and let's go. Because it felt like I was part of the crew, because you had a bunch of other people too, And I think one person was kind of shy, and they now
one dude's like badass. He just hangs from the rope and just drops himself. I was like, this guy's got balls.
Yeah, so I was like, man. And like watching it, I try to like dissect using the way I make videos.
Yeah, exactly. See it through your lens, basically. Yeah.
And I was like, man, I don't even know, like, how am I even going to, like, set this up? Like, it mentally, because I have to plan, like, I have to know there's a waterfall there, you know, I have to know, like, are the people actually safe? Are they afraid of going to waterfalls? You know, are they afraid of height? Like, there's so much running through my mind.
But that's the thing, because, like, you can't know when a moment like that's going to happen.
Exactly.
So if you go that day and you want it to, like, work out perfectly, it probably won't.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, it's more like casting a net and filtering out and seeing what I get. Like I said, 9 out of 10 days that I filmed are not going to be they're not going to be, there's no story, nothing compelling about it, you know?
That's why you keep your whole ball, because you can now recycle and look through something and be like, you know what? I didn't have a story about you 5 years ago, but now I got the missing piece. And then you can now...
Footage I shot in Japan 4 years ago, right?
Still relevant.
I'm gonna use it now, having come back here, and contrast it with my experience then. So
you might have not had a story all this time, but now, because you have new footage, you can compare and contrast. You can make new stories. You can have extensions to your memories that, oh, you know, I went to this place and it no longer exists. Now it's this place, you know. So I see how, like, more stories are created the more you just turn on your camera.
Yeah, the more you're kind of like, you know, casting that net and trying to capture those moments, the more that will naturally come about. And that way, it's not like I'm not forcing anything. If something cool occurs, like I knew from the start that like jumping off the bridge at Blue Pools was like such a amazing story.
But did you know that there was a bridge you're gonna jump off?
No, not at all, dude. I just saw this girl jump off, and I thought, this girl's insane. Like, why is she doing this? Yeah.
And I think that's how you started the video too.
Yeah. I was like, everyone was kind of watching, and I was like, am I witnessing like something terrible happening right now? You know? Yeah. But then these two Chinese dudes that I met months earlier in New Zealand that I didn't come to the Blue Pools with, they were picking cherries, doing seasonal work in New Zealand, which lots of people do seasonal work. Yeah, they're from China. They were taking like a break they lived close by to there. And I met him in a totally different area, actually. And he was like, you gonna jump? And I was like, okay, if he knows that it's a spot and I just saw that girl do it, then it's a real thing, so let's do it, you know? I can't say no, yeah.
I would jump, but like, I would have to pray to like all the gods, you know. Somebody needs to pour some liquor for my ancestors, you know, before I make that jump. I used to cliff dive in San Diego, and the first jump for me is the scariest. You jump. You're like, woo! You're still falling.
Oh, it's terrible. It's kind of a scary feeling, isn't it? Yeah.
You're ready to finish like your hoorah, but you're still.
And then you like flounder at the last second. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm like, when I see it, that memory always like comes in my mind, and you're like, yeah, I got this. Oh shit.
Dude, it's like a horrible feeling in your heart, you know what I mean?
Like your heart leaves your body for a second.
Yeah. I would agree. There's like no getting over that either.
Oh man. So I think my biggest question now, since I kind of understand your methodology of your creative process, how do you like turn on the camera? Like, what is in your mind when you turn on, like, you have your phone, right? you have your camera, you have your drone, you have all your gear, right? How do you know when to turn on the phone?
Oh, like which piece of equipment?
Yeah, which piece of gear?
Yeah. So like to finish the end of that process, because I'll explain that first, and then which tool I'm using to originally capture the content, right? So I told you that like I write, and then I try to remove unnecessary sentences or neaten things up, make it a little more concise, like the writing. After I do that, then I do the voiceover and match it with the footage, and then that 1.5 minutes gets distilled down to 45 seconds. So I pick clip selection and distill that down after the voiceover is done, and try to match the clip with what I'm saying. So if I just tell the story organically, and then hopefully I have the right footage to go over what I'm saying, so that you're seeing and hearing something that matches. Then what I'll do is I'll usually send that to my girlfriend, and then she'll tell me which parts are terrible about it. And that is a really important piece of the process. And I want to pay respects to my girlfriend, because I'm fucking really bad at taking critical advice, you know?
Respects to the women.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm not good at taking criticism for my work. I never have been. I used to just like shut down if someone gave me any critical response to my work. But she's been really critical, but it's been useful critique, and she's usually right about what needs to be removed. You know, like this part was confusing. I didn't understand it. And I'm like, well, how could you not understand it? It makes perfect sense, but it doesn't. And to 90% of the viewers, it doesn't. And I think that was one of the biggest like leveling up of my work ever, was learning that and it's been a long process, me trying to take criticism better. Like I remember it back in internships when I was in college. I remember hearing it from professors, everything. My first full-time job, I hated hearing criticism. For my writing, for my sales forecasts, what I was doing in corporate work. So being able to like remove unnecessary pieces of the story, completely change something if someone doesn't understand it. If I'm making a mistake in my speech, to actually go through it and do a new voice recording and edit that into the video, which is like 2 to 4 hours. Do you notice? You might have not even noticed a mistake in the first part, but just having that kind of approach, like, let me get detailed with it. And I want it to be perfect. Like if it takes me an extra 4 hours, but it leads to like a more polished end product, then I want to go through the effort of doing that. And instead of just being like, first draft done, it's beautiful, don't criticize it. It's exactly the way it was supposed to be. It's perfect. Like, don't touch it, don't say a word. Just watch it and tell me, great job.
It's flawless.
Yeah, just tell me it's good, you know? And this is like such a wrong approach to like producing work. And like hearing people's advice and trying to like, and I don't mean reading the comments. Like sometimes you can get some information off that, but I don't think that's the healthy way to do it. It's got to be like creators.
Yeah.
Someone like you're in my shoes, you produce stuff, you know what I'm talking about. Like your type of feedback is critical, you know? You know,
you're doing the same thing.
Exactly.
We are in the same boat rowing together. We might be rowing different oars, you know. But like if you're in the plane and you want to criticize me in the boat, you know, fuck you.
Yeah, like you don't know a thing about operating a boat.
Yeah, you're in the plane, stay in your lane.
Exactly.
You know?
So
I see the water. You might see it, but like you don't know how much. Like I can't just turn around. You know, I have to like call everybody on this side too. But yeah.
So like if you ever have feedback, please send it to me, you know? Because I find that information to be so valuable, you know? Even if it's just like I didn't understand this part, or like in another video, could you explain this aspect? Because or like that type of feedback is super valuable. And people are afraid to give this type of feedback, you know? And that's kind of like the vibe of social media too. Like it's like a supportive vibe, but not critical. So you do need to like I should just do that too. Like just send it to someone and say, hey, I haven't uploaded this yet. What do you think? Just give me your raw thoughts. Like I didn't understand this part. Perfect. Then I need to fix it.
Yeah, feedback. feedback and prayer review is necessary. They taught me
It
that
is.
when I was doing my master's. You have to give it out to people to peer review.
Mm.
The thing about it is, it's hard. It's hard for me to bother you, and like listen to this video, or like that's how like I think about it. Like it's hard for me to like give my work out, or like have somebody critique my work.
And like you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
In doing it.
You're very vulnerable because there's a lot of stuff that you just like did on the fly. So you're like, I hope they don't notice it. And they're like, this is crap. You're like, So you're very vulnerable. So for me, what I do is I just post the shit out. Like I just post it online.
Mm-hmm.
Just like send everything out there. What do you do? Like,
well, so do you ever show your work to your wife and see like what she thinks?
she loves all my stuff.
Ah, see,
that's
the hard part about it, right?
She like, for her it's weird because like she doesn't care about the procedures of how I make it. When I show her the final project, she's like, I like this, I like that. And it's like, sometimes she'll pick the things that I like intentionally did. And she's like, I like this part, I like that transition.
And you're like, yes.
I'm like, yeah. But like, when I sit down and I watch it again, and I'm like, I don't like that part. I don't like that part. I don't like that part. I should have done better with that part.
Oh, the self-critique.
Is
that's
the
a big one.
Like, gets me. Then she's like, no, but like, if you did this part won't make sense. Then I'm like, how does it even, like, at one point of time, I'm like, I am even confused on what I made because it's like a Frankenstein project that I just put together. And I'm like, you got all that from this? Well, I guess it succeeded, but like, I have no idea. I was going for a complete 180. I was trying to say fans suck, air condition rules, but I am talking about climate change from that. So for me, it's the self-critique, and I don't know, the review people give you is, I think all review is good. But you have to understand where they're coming from, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, they have to like know what you're doing, like know what kind of work you're producing, and know you personally, where you don't feel like you can trust them with your work and get your feedback.
The trust part, like, I think the trust part I don't really care about, because for me personally, everything that I do, I'll say probably 20% is original ideas. The remaining 80% I am stealing from somebody else. I'm looking at somebody else's work and getting more.
Oh, you're like, oh, that's a great idea.
So for me, I feel like my ideas are like easy enough to like steal, and like you could do it yourself, but it's in the reproduction of, for example, right, doing the podcast. When I first started, all I did was use my cell phone, just boop boop boop. But as time goes and you elevate, we have camera, we got mic, we got lavaliers, we got all these things. But like someone's like, oh, how do you do it? I just podcast, just do it easy. It's easy, but in that process of all this, you're gonna learn video editing, you're gonna learn sound engineering, you're gonna learn everything, and all that learning, for me, it's like doors in my head. Once I get one, and I'm like, on to the next door. If the next door is the communication parts of it, like, I cannot go any farther without networking with people or communicating with people. I'll leave everything, then jump to a networking project. Once I accomplish the networking project, I'll now bring everything up Then once it gets to that level, and I'm like, the next problem, I don't understand how to get the establishing shot of a building. Now everything's on hold for establishing shots. I'm gonna meet people, but it's like self-evaluation, learn, go back. Then once I go back, I'm like, oh, let me see what Adam thinks about, establishing shot, because I like his perception of it. But because you might be doing travel tours and everything, and today I'm working on like my product line, I will hit you back based on I know you have this perspective.
Yeah, and then
so that's how I do it.
Work that into your creative process.
Yeah, but I have to just throw it out. I can't think on the fly.
I see what you're saying. So like you let the creative process happen and your skills evolve with it. Mm-hmm. And then you go back and refine, what you've already produced. Yeah. Or what you've already been building on. Like the skill set that you have been getting better at.
Yes. So for me, everything is just one big project. And as I'm meeting new people along the way, they somehow get incorporated into the product. So like if I'm working on something in the future, inside this project that I've been working on all these years, there are people inside. Because when I started, like, before I came to Japan, I had no friends. Well, I had friends, but they weren't taking me to the level I wanted to be. So when I came to Japan and I met everybody in Emblem, everybody was on their grind. Everybody was travelers. Everybody was like tired of their normal life and they're trying
motivated.
They were motivated to do something different. So seeing that, I was able to be like, you know what? I want to be like these guys. Fuck y'all motherfuckers that don't want to do shit. These motherfuckers know what they want to do in life. And that's why, like, when I meet and I still talk to half of them, they're still my like closest friends than my people I grew up with. Because I know everybody I've met in Emblem, everybody's a go-getter. Everybody. Like, there's no, even the person that's like the most slackiest of slackers.
They're here in Japan.
They're like, man, I ain't got no money.
They did something.
They did something. So for me, it was like the whole Emblem crew motivated me in like different ways. And like, there's a guy I met, he does installations. Randomly, I'm like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And he answers. My older friends, if I ask them something about something, they'll be like, what? Are you talking about the party or the drink? You haven't even left the house, bro. Like, we've gone all over the world. You've gone to South, Central, North, East, West, They haven't left the same zip code. Still there. But everybody in Emblem, they were grinding, they were on the move, and being a part of that's when everything started in 2019. Meeting everybody was such on like, I want to do this, I want to do this.
I caught you at the beginning of the wave.
We all did, like, everybody.
Me too. I know, dude.
And
it's crazy
because like for me, I wanted change in my life, and like Emblem was the initial starting point. Anytime I get lost now, I just have to think back to Emblem, like, who in Emblem did this shit? Oh yeah, he did this.
Oh, right.
And that becomes my peer review, like,
your community.
My community, like everybody that I've met from that time forward has been like adding to my that's why I call it a collective at this point of time, and I think it's starting to make sense.
Was Renegade Pirates something that you started in 2019 as well?
Renegade Pirates started no, not 2019. It was 2017, I believe.
Oh, 2 years before that.
But Renegade Pirates itself has gone through many changes.
Yeah, kind of explain what the Renegade Pirates is, you know.
So basically, Renegade Pirates started off with sailing. I used to ride 22-foot yachts.
I saw some of those videos. That was awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
I was even thinking at one time, like, I wanted to come meet you out there.
Just to come
yeah,
over
I
there,
know.
right?
Yeah.
That's what everybody says, but the people
Nobody fucking
around
does
me
it.
wanted to go.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like, come on, let's go sailing. How many people do you know have a fucking yacht?
None.
Right?
Yeah.
So
You?
let's go. But nobody wanted to go. And for good reasons. Like, it took me time to understand.
Well, that's why I'm out here alone, right?
Right,
you know,
right.
like, you can hit your friends up all they want, and they're down at the planning stage, and they're not down when it's time to fucking leave. You know?
So I was like, and because of that, that's when I went to Japan. Like, after I lost my job, December 2018, you know, bought my tickets, said I'm going to spend 3 months in Japan. Fuck it, fuck y'all, fuck everybody. And in that 3 months, I'm not sailing. Renegade Pirate took a different turn. It started going into the podcast. And at that time, I was like designing t-shirts for my website. You know, I was like, all right, sailing shirts. You want some sailing shirts? Then I came to Emblem, started meeting everybody. And I think that's when it actually changed from sailing oriented to adventure based. You know, remember that mural that was
On the wall?
On the wall, in
Yeah.
Emblem?
Awesome mural.
When I look at it, it reminded me of my story. You know, you start alone, you walk, you have some friends, they don't follow you, then you go by yourself, then you meet new people and you go on different adventures. That was basically the story of the mural.
Yeah.
And for me, when I used to look at it, I was like, yeah, I like the arts, I like these people, I like the people I'm meeting here, everybody's on point. So I want to embody this. I want to grow. I want to meet new people. I want to have friends, you know. I want to be creative. I want to, you know, learn new stuff. Mostly learn new stuff, you know.
That was kind of the vibe I got off you too at that time.
Yeah, so Renegade now came as frame of mind. That's when I always say the frame of mind season, right? I'm learning. Everybody's telling me the same things I do, but differently. You know, oh man, I do this in so place, and I'm in Japan, and I do this, and I'm in Japan. So I'm like, what? Just a slight frame. It's not even like you did a big change. It's just something different, just a little thing.
Oh yeah.
You know?
The 1 degree turn.
The
How-
1 degree turn.
That like, you know, 1 day from now, not a big change. 30 days,
Yes. So when
you're in
I
a different
started
ocean. Yeah.
hearing that, then like experiencing that, I'm like, you know what? I wish the people back home, the people I left, could hear these stories and kind of like understand, like, it's all of us that feel the same kind of way, but you don't have to like surrender to those feelings. You know, you can try. There's people out there, you know. Frame of mind, then frame of mind is split into 2 frames of minds. Gucci frame of mind, old Gucci and new Gucci. Old Gucci is more of me trying to like get the people involved. You know, I'm like, hey, let's do this together. Let's go sailing, let's travel, let's do this. New Gucci, I said, fuck them all. I have $1 million in my head. I got my own clothing line. I got my own this. I got my own that. Why should I bother with people that don't want to do it? You know, so I kind of gave up. You know, I stopped pursuing people, you know, and I started just living like a millionaire. You know, new Gucci, baby. Gucci frame of mind.
I like that.
You know? And with new Gucci was more for creating stuff, was more me experiencing what the whole creation part is. What does creation mean to me? You know? And it came from t-shirt design, because now I'm thinking fashion, I'm thinking why do people wear the shirts they wear, you know? And
Because it's free from Hostel 7, baby. For those listening, I'm wearing a free t-shirt from a hostel. Right now.
and it's like you get all these, stories with t-shirts. Like everybody that wears a t-shirt has a story why they're wearing that t-shirt. And that's where I was like, you know what, I want to sell t-shirts. I want people to have like an epic adventure. Like when someone's like, "What is a nice shirt?" Like, man, you see this shirt, man? I said, "Fuck the birds," like, fuck the birds. I hate birds, but I love birds. But
Yeah.
So I love when a t-shirt tells this story. So for me, that's when like I started focusing more on the stories. COVID comes, everybody's trapped at home. I now see the relevance of a podcast.
Oh, huge relevance during the COVID epidemic.
Because now everybody's going crazy. Everybody's losing their mind. The people that normally travel can't travel.
Yeah.
Right? They're stuck at home. So everybody that normally travel is pulling their hair out because they can't leave the house. And the people that normally don't travel, that's at home, they get to get the flip, So at that point of time, I found a lot of people arguing about the same thing and like the same exact things. They're like, I want to leave, I want to stay home, I want to do this, but no, I can't stay home, but I want to leave, everybody wants to leave. All right, so at least now, y'all on the same page. You're speaking the same language, y'all both want to go out. Let's go. That's when I started doing the hiking. Instead of taking people sailing, let's just go hiking. Every week we find a new location in San Diego and we go. Just go. And we started getting more people, having fun, talking to people. And I came to Japan. New lifestyle. I am lost as a motherfucker.
I bet.
New language.
Yeah, man.
Everything.
Yeah, Japanese culture, right? You have some special insight to share when it comes to Japan, don't you?
Do I?
More than I do. You've been living here for a year, haven't you?
Japan is culturally different, psychologically different. Everything is different. So I couldn't do the same thing I was doing in the States, I can't take people on tours here because I have no idea where I'm going. Like, everywhere I go is brand new, So for me, it's, what do you call it? I'm just lost.
Culture shock?
Culture shock, maybe. Yeah, maybe a little bit of culture shock. And because of that, I know all the things that I've done previously, I cannot do it here. Except for the music. You can always do music.
Yeah.
Music you can. And because the only thing I started with was the music, I call it the life original soundtrack, Lost. Like, oh, that kind of defines what the hell I'm doing. And most of the time it's me being lost, like in Japan, but also lost in my mind, like lost in like the mundane things of like we're discussing about just camera gear, There's so much that you have to just surrender yourself. Like you have to have a path in life. You have to be able to be like, yes, this is where I'm going. But Japan is a mystical place, This place makes you realize that like hard work pays off. That 1 degree turn, you should have done the 1 degree turn 5 years ago, but we give you a chance right now. They give you a chance like right now to make that 1 degree turn, and it hurts. It hurts. And being in Japan, that pain from that hurt has allowed me to experience Japan new every single day. Like, I'm learning the language, I'm reading the words, the scribbly lines, like, all this is happening by just that, like, 1 degree turn. So for me, my head is like, how do I get people to, like, enjoy this 1 degree turn? You know, like, how do you get them started on this 1 degree turn? And that's what I was saying, like, when I'm taking out videos now, that is, like, the major factor. From anything I create. Any t-shirts, video, music piece, art piece, is how to get that 1 degree turn. And you kind of broke the secret for me, so I'm going to try what you said.
Oh, some of my creative process? All right.
I'm going to try some of it because when I think about it, it's seamless. Like, it's living your life and just recording as you go along. You know, what happens. I'm just telling you the story.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of I'm just telling you the story. And because right now I'm in that lost perspective, it gives me clarity because now I can just be lost as possible and just tell you.
Wait for something to form on its own.
Exactly. So Renegade Pirate is always going to be a free-forming thing because today I have music here and I'm going to be making music, or I'm going to be selling retro games, and I'm going to have an idea to sell pepper plants or some dumb shit because that's who I am. And
Hustling.
Even not even the hustling, sometimes it's just for the fun of it.
Yeah,
like,
man, I get that.
Can you really believe people do this thing and people actually do it? And you're like, word, I didn't know y'all like candy, for example, right? Everybody is like, oh, don't take candy. Candy's bad for your teeth. Candy's this, candy's that. Okay.
I love candy.
I love candy too. So when I started selling candy online, everybody, I want some candy. Give me some candy. Oh, you want some candy? But when I was asking who wants candy, nobody raised their hand. So I thought the candy was only going to be for me. But now everybody raised their hand, I want candy. So for me, it's like, if I see it and it interests me, and I see like, okay, who likes candy? And you raise your hand? Today I'm working on candy. Why do you like candy? I like candy because it's gooey and gooey. Like, why you know? So that's like how my mindset works. And I guess like I know my circle, my review, my people around me are willing to change. They are willing to do that 1 degree turn. Because that's what they do. You know, they're all doing, you guys are all doing the 1 degree turn.
Yeah.
Well, how do you get people that's totally ignorant of that 1 degree turn? How do you get them to like adjust to that 1 degree turn? Whether it be...
You can't, right? They have to do it from within.
But isn't that the point of creativity?
Is to what?
To
inspire them to make that 1 degree turn?
Yes.
All you can do is hope that they're inspired by you know what you do.
So when you make it, you only have the hope?
Well, I guess it's more like I make it because it's natural to me.
Okay.
And then hopefully it does inspire someone. But I'm not even sure if I have any thoughts about that in the producing it process.
So you don't. It's like
why does a squirrel bury its nuts, or like why does a bear hibernate? It's just fucking natural.
Yeah,
you know.
It does.
Yeah, like I don't understand what it is either. Like why I'm getting into a creative process where like I have an idea, And then like I don't need any caffeine in my system for me to be like for 4 hours like I need to flush out this idea. But there is something sort of natural about the process, and hopefully it influences people.
So you just said something that interests me. You said that you want to just flesh out an idea. So is it like the idea is like playing in your mind? You can see it all the time.
Sometimes.
Okay. You just want to like get it out as to see if you can get it out, right?
Yeah. So like something will happen in my life, and I'm like, if I don't tell this story soon, I'm gonna lose all the details, and it's not gonna be the same when I finally express it. Or maybe there's something to learn about that experience that could be beneficial for humanity, or other people might get something out of it. And then I want to get that idea out like ASAP, so that I don't potentially lose the details myself.
Wow. Okay. So. Whew. You finished South America.
Okay, yep. So I finished South America. I head back to the States. That was really nice to just like, come down off the travel high. It was so intense for so long, Even just rushing back for Christmas and heading straight back out, like 8.5, 9 months of just like, I'm in it, And then I was only supposed to be home for a few months. And I was going to do a trip with my girlfriend to Mexico and stay in Mexico, actually. And I was going to do like the next few months in Mexico and head back into Guatemala and stuff.
So go back down, okay?
Yeah. Like I knew Japan was going to happen sometime, but like I was like all in for the South America thing. Me and my girlfriend, who's Chinese born, who has a Chinese passport, when we go to Mexico, they didn't accept her visa, basically. Even though she had done everything right, They just hadn't seen that scenario before. So they send her home right away. After like we wait in the airport for a couple hours, it's super tense. They're not letting her answer the phone. I'm like standing outside immigration, like what's going on? Damn. First time I see her after a couple hours, they're like, we're putting her on a plane back to the US right now. Like you can't come with her. And I'm like, what? And we already have things booked and the whole plan, like weeks of planning into this. And so she goes home. I have to go from the airport to the city, stay for one night, come back out and take an Uber the next day and go home. And so this was like a huge setback, all that time and planning, driving out to Chicago to take the flight, which is 6 hours from Iowa, 6 hours back, And we end up, I have to like adjust. And in that time, I'm like, okay, if I tried to go to Mexico and it didn't work out, I want the next destination to be worth not working out. Like if it doesn't work out, I want to have picked the right spot. And that's where I totally shifted gears. And I'm like, it needs to be in Asia. It needs to be somewhere in the Pacific. Like if I'm going to, risk my safety, because on some of these treks, they're dangerous, If I'm going to risk my safety, I better make sure this is like something I want to do with my life for sure. Not just like, oh, I'm going to Mexico. Like, no, I need to be really dedicated to the country.
Yeah.
That changed my perspective. And I'll tell you a story about Peru that was like life-changing experience, that made me start thinking this way. Because when I got back from Peru, I was like, every country needs to have like a life or death value to it. So yeah, then I go. So that's when I started looking for stuff in the Pacific, and I thought anything would be fine for me as long as it gets me out there, like New Zealand, Japan, Vietnam, because that first flight's so long and so expensive.
The first one is
that like I just need to like get that one, and then within the area, $100 per flight.
Damn.
So the Peru story, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast with you is because I've been needing to like get this story out.
Okay.
Because I wrote it when it happened. It was, I think, the most like life-changing experience of my existence.
Okay.
And I wanted to get it out as soon as possible, but it was like a sensitive thing for like the first like year after it happened. So anyways, I finally have a outlet to explain the story. So I go to Peru. I do Machu Picchu. I hike up there, 5-day hike. I do a couple other treks while I'm there. And north of Peru is Juarez. It's like a trekking capital of Peru. Not many people know about it. It's way more rural than Machu Picchu, way off like the main tourist track.
Off the grid.
But it's trekking capital, you know? Trekkers know it. Like people who like hiking, they know this region of Peru. But all those people in Machu Picchu, they're not making it over to this side of Peru, basically. It's 8 hours bus from Lima. And most people, that's as far as they go. Lima, and then that's it. So I'm in Lima. I know I'm going to Juarez to do Santa Cruz or one of these big 4-day treks. And I meet an American guy at the check-in counter. His name is Iji Kobayashi. He is his family is from Japan. He's American born. He's from California.
Okay.
Actually. And the next morning we're both getting breakfast and I'm like, hey, we're both going to Juarez. Let's do it together. So we take the bus together. We get to Juarez. We do like a 1-day trek to a lagoon. And he had some like headache from the altitude, and he's probably coming from sea level being in, you know, Cali, and I'm coming from Cusco. So I've been in like high altitude for a while, so I'm not feeling anything. The next day we're like, let's go do the Santa Cruz trek. It's a 4-day trek, 60K through the mountains, you know, like no assistance, no bathrooms, like you're out there, you know, like it's a big trek. And so he's feeling a bit of altitude sickness, but he's like, you know what, we'll sleep tonight and, you know, give it a try. We'll go for it. So we both sign up for it with the hostel. It must have been like $120, 4-day, all your food, all your accommodation is cheap, you know. So we start the trek on day 1, and that night he's definitely still like feeling like a headache or something like that. And him and I share a tent because it's all tents out there. Basically like donkeys carry the cooking gear and the food and the tents, and by the time you finish your 8 hours of hiking, it's all set up for you because donkeys are faster than humans. So they just like move all your stuff. 8 hours later you get there, the camp's already there. They're cooking food up already.
Nice.
And that second night we're sleeping in a tent, and he's like talking to himself like the whole night. He's like clearly in distress. And for me, it was just like super strange to see someone like this. Like I had already talked to him. I felt like I knew him pretty well. We had some like deep conversation, good conversation, like leading up to this. And it was uncharacteristic of him, you know? And I just like stayed awake that whole night because it's like, I don't really know this guy. He's sitting right next to me. I didn't have like earbuds. I can
He's just talking to himself.
Yeah, he's saying like, oh, I'm tired. Like, I don't know what it was, just like agony, you know, he's just like groaning and stuff. And then the next morning I'm out of the tent and I'm like in the breakfast and he's still like getting up. And I remember when I got up out of the tent, it like startled him and he got up and like grabbed my arm. And I was like, what are you doing, bro? And he was like, I think he said, getting ready for the new year. And like something was up. I could tell something was off, you know, but like, what do you do? I've never seen something like this before. So I'm in we wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning. So it's like still kind of dark out. We're in the tent. It's cold as fuck because it's high altitude, you know, and I'm in the tent talking to other travelers and like, I'm stressed because I didn't sleep and I was just thinking about this situation. And I kind of explained it to the truckers and I feel like they just didn't want to hear about it. Like, it's just like, didn't know whether to like believe me or like just like focused on like the day ahead, which is a big day, you know, next big day, right? 8 hours, it's an intense trek. So I mean their minds like on the stuff. Exactly. And I just needed to like vent to someone about like the experience I had last night, like being conscious the whole night because I like had adrenaline because
you're already thinking about the hike and all this, and you have somebody extra you're worried about, like you go psycho on you while you're in the bed.
And I trust him, but like you hear like another grown man like act like this, like I'm worried for. I need to be alert. I couldn't like rest in that state, you know. So then, but they kind of just like brush it off, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna brush it off too, you know, like, and to preface that, he was conscious up until a certain point. On the second day, when we arrived at the second camp, there was a stream, ice cold, like glacier melt type stream. And a bunch of us jumped in the stream, like quick, like 5 minutes max, like cold shock,
Ice shock, yeah.
Yeah, and like an ice bath, basically. And he was actually one of the first guys in. He was like, yeah, like, let's do it. He does it. He's done it before. And it was after that I saw the change occur in him, because when he was like wrapped in a blanket after that, he was rocking a little bit after that. And he stopped talking as much. And that was like the first transition. And it was that night that he had like began to basically had, like, what I later found out is he had very low oxygen content in his blood, which is like something that happens with altitude. So it could have, maybe it was a catalyst, or he was already on the way towards that, on that path. So then the third day, when we wake up, he's like not okay, and I try to explain that to the guide, and they can see it, like I packed up his sleeping bag and all his tent and stuff, and I was like, just go sit in the tent, the food tent, and I'll like, get everything packed up. And I explained to the guide, and they like don't speak any English, obviously, right? But they're amazing, crazy natives. They do this hike all the time, like super impressive. Guys like 130 pounds, and he's doing this thing. And so like they can see that he's not all right. So they have him walk with the donkeys instead of go with us, because he couldn't keep up pace from the second day. He was like way behind, and then the third day, it's like we're not even gonna have him go. We'll have the lady who was cooking. He'll go with the lady and the team who walks with the donkeys. Yeah. So then I'm like, it's not my problem anymore for the third day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just back on the trek. He's not. I don't see him. I'm thinking about it, but like I'm also just in the trek again. And then that night when we get there, he was already there, and he's like, laid out. Like he is not good, Mm-hmm. And I remember wanting like a different tent, because I didn't want to.
Oh, because he's still inside the tent when you get to your hiking destination.
Yeah, when we get back, like we're going to share a tent again. And a couple of the guys, they like finished the trek in a shorter period of time, which they're insane for doing this. It must have been a 12 to 14 hour day. Like crazy guys. One dude's Spanish. I forget where the other dude was from. Badasses, They're like 60K in 3 days or something. Yeah. Damn. And this is like altitude hiking, And so I remember that day. I'm like, okay, so we can each have our own tent because there's like fewer people. Mm-hmm. And I'm just being completely honest about like my feelings throughout it. Like. I had a lot of empathy, but the other times I like wanted to be free of the burden, Mm-hmm. And I felt like no one else was handling it with me. So it did feel like my burden, and like the guy doesn't understand. So like, of course he's not going to like take on the responsibility. So then like that night, I'm like, I have a separate tent, but he's still next to me. I can hear everything, but at least there's like a separation. I was able to sleep a little bit, But the same thing, he's like going through it, dude. He's seeing, he's fighting his demons in there, dude. He's fighting his demons the whole night, and it's the same kind of like gibberish as what was happening the night before. This is the third night, so this is like the last day, And so like, I did say a lot of that to him. I'm like, bro, we're almost through it. You're doing a really good job. Mm-hmm. And on that last day, it becomes clear that he can't walk anymore. That like, so in the very beginning of it, and there's no like going to the donkeys anymore. Like you got to go with the group. We got 8 hours today. We're gonna push through it, starting at like 4:35, and they're like holding him by the shoulder and walking him like that, and it's just not working, man. He just keeps needing to lay down. Like he can't do that. Like even with the support of like 2 people holding his arm, and so the guide, such a badass, starts carrying him on his shoulders. Like, mind you, there's donkeys, but he can't go on the donkeys because he can't grip anything. Because he's, like, nearly unconscious. And if you fall off the donkey and hit your head on the rock, like, that's way worse than you getting stuck out in the mountains, So the guide carries this guy on his shoulder. And like I told you, he's like 130 pounds. and he's like you know, like when you put like a little kid on your shoulders and their legs are like this. Mm-hmm. That's how he had to do it, like holding his legs and like taking huge breaks. And there was a real sense of community in the group at that time, I will say. I felt like the other trekkers could see now what was going on. Something that I talked about earlier, they started helping out big time. So one girl carried him for a while, you know, actually carried him on her back, you know?
Wow.
And the guides just kept switching, and like everyone helped in their own way. Like, you know, you only have so much water, you know, so we're sharing water with the guides. We're helping take their backpack so that the guide can
carry the guys.
Exactly.
Wow.
So that was good to see. But I mean, I don't think anyone knew it was serious at this moment, you know? But like, we made it work. And it was bad for sure. But at the same time, I didn't think it was like too serious. So we get back to like the end of the trek, and the guides just like dump us all there. You know, like, oh, fucking done carrying this guy. They go off to do their next trek. They immediately get back on the road with the next group.
Damn.
Like, these guys are just back and forth.
In and out. Damn. Savages.
Crazy, huh? Like, these guys, like, this is a hard hike, man. And the fact that they're just like
4 days.
Mm-hmm.
That was a day. That's a
just
job.
Keep doing it, yeah.
Sheesh.
So, okay, so they drop us off at the bus area, and there we wait for a couple hours before we're going back into Juarez, into the city. And at that point, I gave him like so many big ups. I'm like, bro, you did it. It's over. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, like pounded it. Like, you fucking you impressive. Yeah. And he had like this moment of like clarity where like he seemed like more there, actually. Like he was like responding to me, and probably like I could see something in his eyes a little bit more at that time. So I'm like, okay, it's over. Like, he's down from the altitude. Mm-hmm. He's going to be fine, you know? And I just got these, like, undertones that things were not all right, that I wasn't ignoring it. Just, it took more of those details for me to, like, act on it. But when we're in the bus, everyone's so tired on the bus, obviously. You know, we're fucking exhausted. And I look back, I gave him some water, or, like, opened up his water bottle and put it in his hand, you know? And I look back, and he like passed out, and the bottle's all spilled all over the ground. And I'm like, oh fuck, he's not all right, you know? Mm-hmm. That was another like moment of like, oh no, I don't think he's better, you know? So then I remember we got off the bus, and I just wanted to be done with it, like I said, and I was gonna just have him walk with me, because we had the same hostel. We're the only two that had the same hostel. Like I said, we came from Lima together. So I was like, come on, bro, we can walk. Let's walk. It was like 10-minute walk. And these two girls were like, oh, we'll help them with a taxi. And I'm like, we can walk. It's around the corner. And they're like, oh, we'll do I'm like, okay, do the taxi. And so they do the taxi. I go back. I go to my room and just like, try to relax and clear my head of all that happened. Like it was a lot of like emotional stress. And, you know, I think at that point I had been feeling some intensity from it. Mm-hmm. And so they take him back. I saw him come in the door. I'm like, okay, good. And then after a few hours, I feel that like 2 hours, I think I'm like waiting in my room, like unpack my stuff, just take a shower, all that, right? Like I haven't, you know, take a proper shower in 4 days. I haven't taken a shower in 4 days. There's no showers out there. So I'm like in my room, and I'm like, I can feel this like sort of like responsibility or guilt, or I don't know what it is. Like I need to go check on him. So I go check on him, and he's like in there. Takes him super long to answer. The lights are off, and it takes him a long time to come to the door. And I'm like, oh no, you know. But then he opens the door, and I ask him some question. His phone is dead, and he was just like laying face first on the bed, you know, like before he came to the door. He was just, and so he goes back to like laying on the bed while I'm talking to him, and I'm like, do you want me to get you something to eat? And he's like, yeah. So I go down, I get him some like yogurt, and I go to the kitchen, and I like serve up a bowl, and I like bring him downstairs. And when he's going down the stairs, he can't like walk properly. And like I remember his like pants were all untucked in this weird way. It reminded me of my grandpa who has Alzheimer's, you know, rest in peace, you know, like, so I saw the way he was moving. And I was like, this is like someone with Alzheimer's. Like something's not good with his brain. So then when he's eating the yogurt, I start like asking him questions about, like what trek did we just do? How many days was it? And he doesn't have any idea. He doesn't know what we did. He doesn't know what trek we were doing. I asked him how many days was the trek, and he answered me with his room number. Like the number in his room. And I'm like, oh no. Because this is my first time like asking him questions, like, and realizing that like his brain is not functioning like at all. Yeah. Really, really low functioning. And I'm like, oh no, gotta take him to the hospital, So I plug in his phone, I charge up his phone, I ask him to punch in the code, I go to like his Facebook Messenger and I'm like, which one is your mom? He shows me which one is his mom. I call, and he's like laying down in the bed, and I'm like talking to the mom, and I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm with your son. We just did this trek, and like he doesn't seem like he had a hard trek. He's not feeling so good, so I'm gonna go take him to get checked out, And they're like, why are you calling me on the phone, And I'm like, bro, sit up, talk to your family, And they're like, I think they could sense something was off. You know what I mean? Like, why am I calling him? All that. And I try to keep it like super positive, like, hey, everything's good, but I'm going to go get him checked out because something's wrong here.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I can sense the like fear or worry in them at that time, So that was crazy. And then, and so then I like begin the process of searching for a clinic or hospital. I go to the hostel, and I'm speaking my broken Spanish with them, trying to explain what happened. And I think he spoke okay English, but he like didn't want to speak English with me, and did not want to help me. And they're the ones who set up the trek in the first place. We gave them money. And they're like, I don't know, if you want to take him to the hospital, take him to the hospital. And I'm like, but something's wrong with him. And they're like, okay, go take him to the hospital.
They didn't want.
And I met him. Yeah, I met him 5 days ago. You know what I mean? It's not like I didn't travel with him. He's not my brother. But I'm like, okay, they're not gonna help at all. And I remember like expressing my like anxiety to some random traveler, and he's like, oh, great, I'm leaving in 15 minutes. And then he left, and I'm like, fuck, I'm alone with this. Yeah. So.
Wow.
So I like, cause like I need to find the hospital first, cause I can't just like show up with him all in this horrible state, I need to like know how to get into the hospital. So I like walk to what I thought was the closest hospital, and I can't like get into it. It's like gated out, and it looks like some weird like industrial, like a construction site or something. Like these are like the worst quality hospital I've ever seen.
Where is this again?
In Juarez, in Peru.
Okay.
8 hours of Lima, and it was like a not inviting place. Looked like I couldn't even get in. There was like security and a gate. I couldn't get in. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's not it. Then I looked up like a clinic, and I found a clinic, and I'm like, okay, let's do the clinic. It looked like they might speak English. Of course not. Nobody speaks English, and neither of these two in the end, right? So I get a cab, and I take him to the clinic, and like they're immediately stressed and worried. They're putting him on oxygen. They're getting him on an IV, and they're trying to get me to pay for stuff like immediately. And so he gives me his wallet, and I'm trying to like pay for these like small bits of equipment, like the face mask. They make you pay for this stuff like before they service you. So it's like he's not getting it until you pay for it, which was a big shock to me. And then they're like, okay. And then they rush him off to like I think it was a CAT scan, And so I go in there, and I'm like, this is all so tense, yeah. And he's like fading in and out of consciousness, like in the bed, And they go rush him off to the CAT scan, and I'm just standing there while they're like doing the scan. And then I come back, and the lady like takes me over to a screen and shows me like an X-ray of his chest. And there's like a big white cluster in his chest. And she explains to me, because I don't know, I know enough Spanish to speak, but I don't know like medical terminology, and we're using like Google Translate. And she's like, he has a pulmonary edema, which is fluid in the lungs. And she's like telling me that he's gonna die. She's like, muerto, like he's gonna die. And I'm like, whoa. And then, so they can't like service him unless someone pays, and it's going to be a lot of money now because they need to guarantee like several days of service. Mm-hmm. And so I try to use his credit card, and I asked him, I'm like, which card should I use or whatever, because he's still kind of there. And he's like, I think I should deny service, because like I think I'm okay, because he thought he was okay the whole time. Even back from day 2, he was like, I'm okay. He was repeating that to me when he was like completely done in the hotel, when I knew it was like, he's done. He kept saying, I'm okay, which is partially why you don't think it's turning into what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's just a natural. Yeah, because like he's not there. This is not even him speaking, dude. This is just like
autopilot.
It's autopilot. It's not really, can't take his word for it. And he doesn't hear what the lady just told me. He didn't see the x-ray. So now I'm like, that was like emotionally intense.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm like, no, there's no denying service, but I can't tell him what I just saw. Yeah. I have to like stay strong and like act like it's all good and keep doing what I was doing, which is like, you're good, bro. You're healthy. It's fine.
Random person.
Met him 5 days ago in Lima, So, so I try to do the credit card. Of course, it gets denied. It's $7,500. Like, of course, the card gets denied. He tries to like call the company, but every time he takes the oxygen mask on, they start yelling at us and force him to put the oxygen back on. Then the guy can't hear him through the oxygen mask. Mm-hmm. And the guy's like, sir, if I can't help you if you keep mumbling. And so I'd be like, no, take it, like, it's like, what do? You leave the oxygen mask on for his safety, or do you make sure that he can get service? Because they're not going to serve him if he doesn't, then he dies anyways, That's
a lot.
Yeah, so like, I don't know, like, I'm like trying not to listen to the doctors, because like, if we can't get this to go through, and like $7,500, like this is crazy amount. Like,
yeah,
you need to clear that with the credit card company if you're gonna ever get that to go through.
Yeah.
And we were unsuccessful, basically. And so then they try to start taking my fingerprints, because they're saying like, you need to be almost like a guarantor. I need to like guarantee that the money gets paid with my, identity. But I'm like. I'm like saying in my fucked up Spanish, like, he's not my brother, he's not my friend, like, I just met him, like, there was a guy, he was sick, I'm trying to help him, it's no more complicated than that. And they're like, okay, I don't know, you're American, he's American, like, all I see is 2 Americans, so, like, you better be responsible for this $7,500, give me your fingerprints, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I can't give you my fingerprints, like, this is insane. And this is after, like, I had already made, like, 6 or 7 runs to their little clinic to buy the oxygen mask, to buy all this stuff. They're making me, like, buy all this stuff.
And don't get to go get it, too?
Yeah, and go get it. Like, in the clinic. They have, like, a separate part of the clinic that I got to go down the hall and find this place to buy the gear. And I come back, and they're like, oh, we also need this. And that we were able to pay for in cash. But we're running out of cash, Cash pooled. All my cash and all his cash, And so then because I can't pay, and they're realizing it's serious, they're like, you need to go to the big hospital, because, and I don't think they could have handled it, to be honest, in the first place. Or maybe they could have. I don't think so, because it was a small clinic. So then one of the nurses accompanies us, him with the oxygen mask, in a wheelchair, get him in the taxi, and we go to the big hospital. The one I saw before. The one that I walked around and looked like a construction site or something. Yeah. So we're back there now. But like, we're in a car, so the gate opens and we go in. Yeah, we're back to the original fucking hospital,
Damn.
And same kind of thing happens, like super hectic right off the gate. Right out of the gate, and we, they lay him down, and I'm waiting for like a diagnosis, and the guy brings me like Google Translate and kind of gives me the same like spiel about him dying and him having a pulmonary edema, but this time it's a different tone, and he's like, we need to put him on a ventilator. And he's like, yeah, so I'm like, I guess so, yeah, put him on the ventilator, right? Like, I know enough about ventilators to know that you only want to be put on it if it's like, it's a last resort type thing. Like, you don't want that machine to breathe for you, because later you're going to have to relearn how to breathe, and some people don't come off the vent. But I'm like, if that's what you're saying, then yeah, do it. Put them on the vent, you know? And so that part was super sad too, because then they like strip him down, and he's like naked, and they're putting tubes in his, you know, it's just a horrible scene, you know? And then begins the next, like, what I thought was like the most chaotic, like, 4 hours of my life, because they made me get all the equipment for him. Like, they didn't just have it or whatever. Same scenario where I had to like go to the pharmacy, and some of it the hospital didn't have. So I had to go find a 24-hour pharmacy. This is like 2, 3 in the morning. This all started at like 7, by the way. The first clinic was like 7 o'clock, I think we arrived. This is like 5, 6 hours later that we're at the hospital, and I gotta go get this equipment. And they're giving me like these huge like laundry lists, all in Spanish, of what equipment needs to be got. And I take it first to like the one, and they won't service him because we run out of money. Okay, so then they're like, you need to have the rest of the money, but I can't go to an ATM at that time. This is Juarez. It's like a dangerous city, you know? I remember seeing like a misfit pack of wild dogs, like 8 dogs, like ripping through some trash bins on my walk to the hospital. Like, it was like a world I had never seen, really, you know? And that's the environment that I got to go out and like look for this like medical equipment. So money pooled, we don't have enough, you know? And they're like, they made me sweat so much. They're like, well, too bad. And I'm like thinking about how I can get to an ATM and withdraw as much as I can, but I don't think I could even withdraw enough in one go, you know? And there's like a limit to both the amount of Peruvian soles I can withdraw, and there's also a limit to like my card.
You can withdraw too, yeah.
Yeah, my bank's got its own limits. So I'm like, how is that even gonna work? And they really made me sweat. And in the end, they were like, well, give me your passport. Give me your passport. And if we got your passport, then you're like stuck in the country, meaning you can't flee, and then we'll service him. And that was like the agreement we came to. So that all happened before they really... I gave them his passport.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So already having his bag and his wallet, I had his passport. They thought it was mine. You know? Yeah. Again, no fingerprints, no passport. You know, I know I got to be smart about that. You know? So, but like, he's going to be here anyways. You know what I mean? Yeah. So... that like gets them to help him, to start helping him.
To start.
Yeah, that whole negotiation was like so that they can start servicing him, you know? So after that begins like the next 4 hours of me like gathering this equipment. And it's like list after list after list. Like I'm getting half of it checked off at the pharmacy. Then I got to go walk to like a 24-hour pharmacy, and they're like, we don't have this one, but we have something else. And just checking it off the list, boxes of equipment. And like as I'm bringing it to the nurse by his bed, you know, she's like, oh, he must be really bad, you know, because like this is a lot of equipment, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I'm the delivery boy, you know, like. And that for that piece, I'm very proud of myself, how I reacted to that situation, because I didn't hesitate. I didn't need to eat, drink, anything. I was redlining myself. And this is after a 4-day trek, you know?
Right.
Like, I'm redlining myself. I forgot that I needed to eat. I forgot that I consumed water. You know what I mean? Like, your body is just like...
on go mode.
Yeah, dude. Like, fully using every ounce of energy and consciousness that I have available. Not even aware of, like, my own needs or consciousness, like, myself, you know? What's really, really, really crazy. It just was like back and forth, keep getting more and more equipment. Here's a bag, here's a box, catheter, breathing tubes. Just like, I never seen this much medical equipment in my life, you know?
Damn.
And this is all for him, you know? And yeah, so luckily I got that whole passport negotiation because I had enough cash to like buy this individual equipment, which had to be paid for
Cash.
Yes, in cash. No card. And I would have happily like used my own credit card. I tried to use my credit card when I first got to the hospital. They're like, not going to work here.
We need the cash.
Yeah. So I get done with all the equipment, you know, and I sometime in this process, I think it was after I did the equipment, we do like an inventory on his belongings. And that was super sad again. This was another like one of the sad moments for me because they're like one pair of pants, one shirt, two shirts, shoes, one iPhone, and we're like taking inventory like he's dead. You know what I mean? Like super inhuman it felt, you know? So we do like the inventory of all of his like belongings. And I luckily had access to his phone. And earlier I had written down his mom's name because he's unconscious now. So I can't get him to log into his phone. So I added his mom on my WhatsApp or on my Messenger. Mm-hmm. So I had access to his mom. And there I sat at like 4:30 in the morning, you know, after all this had occurred. And I wrote like a book. Yeah, I wrote a book to her. And I felt so bad. Like I was like, you know, this happened. I went to this hospital. This is all the information in the hospital. I did like trying everything I can. I don't know how I put it. I think I did it in like a really like censored way. Like didn't explain anything of what happened in like a really positive way. Like it's all good. But this is like the phone number of the hospital. This is the location. This is where you can find it. All that. Everything I could. But I almost felt like I was going to later be part of like a huge investigation about his death. You know?
He passed?
No. Yeah. Like, I thought it was going to be like, you know...
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah. I was like, I'll see, this will be a part of my life for a long time, basically. This is kind of the way I'm thinking about it. And I'm trying to write this message, you know, just so that they're as aware as soon as possible and that hopefully one of them can come out, you know, like that's what I'm thinking, you know. And I got a hold of his brother contacted me. So I write the same thing to the brother, and I think they're sleeping because it's probably like nighttime for them, you know. Yeah, this is probably a similar time zone. They're from Cali. This is probably like 5 or 6 in the morning, 7 or something.
Yeah, 3 hours.
Yeah, it's still early morning. So I get all these messages out, and this is still like the redlining part, you know, where like I'm still just so active, you know. I realize that his like phone is nearly dead, and I'm like, I can't like leave him with a dead phone, you know. So I think I really wanted to leave at that point. And it's so hectic, the hospital. I forgot to describe that. Like in the background, all this shit is happening, you know, like people who have horrible illnesses and injuries are like coming in the door. There's chaos.
The hospital is always chaos.
Yeah, the families are like waiting out. I'm sitting on the bench with the families who are like in distress, you know. And I finished like what I feel is like my duty to like finally get those messages out. I brought my cell phone charger, thank God, and I like charged up his phone so that when he wakes up, like he's got his charged phone. And that was when I just like broke down on this bench full of like Peruvians waiting for their like loved ones and shit. Just broke down. And like it was like a religious moment, bro. I can't even describe it. Like some Peruvian lady like tapped me on the shoulder, noticed I was crying. I thought I was doing it in the most like covert way. Like I was being real silent with it, you know, like trying not to like, it was a silent cry. Like tears were coming, but I wasn't like, you know, blubbering. Yeah. I was just like stressing. And she like tapped me on the shoulder and gave me like a Kleenex, a tissue. And I was like, oh, like humanity, they care. Everything's like, it was so weird, you know, because the hospital was really harsh with me. You know, I think they were not, I almost felt like they wanted me to feel the pain. And he later told me that he felt like they weren't feeding him properly with the feeding tube, like they were starving him. He lost tons of weight, you know. So, and I felt that's how they were treating me, you know. And so it was this huge, immense pressure, but like I did everything I could. So at this point, I could like let go of it, you know. And then I felt like that huge like emotional moment, and that lady gave me the tissue, just made it worse, you know. And then I like go to the nurse and I like write down all of his information, and they're like, you need to write down your name, you need to write down, and I'm like, oh no, okay, why, you know. You know, I thought I was gonna drop him off at the hospital, like you see a sick person, Please help.
Deuce.
Yeah, help him out. Like I'm already like, why am I the one having to do this, right? And that's what people say, like this like unlikely hero type shit, you know? Because like you just happen to be in that position and anyone would do what they had to do in this position. That's how I feel like it is, you know? I didn't know this was gonna happen and that I'm gonna have to be the one to do it. So yeah, so I like write as much information as I can, like all the full names, all the phone numbers, which I've already communicated to the brother and the mom. So I have already done all that, you know, and yeah, so I'm like, that's it. I think it's like 5:30 or 6 in the morning, the sun's coming up, you know, and I go to leave, and the lady's like, Hoven, like young person, young man, or whatever, and I like come back. And she like wants to get like my name and stuff, and I'm like, oh god, write my name. This is weird, you know, like why? But I give her like my information and as much stuff as I can provide. I make sure I get every last bit of information from them about like how to contact them and stuff. That day I'm in Peru still, and I'm contacting the brother. Is a doctor, and like understands what just happened pretty well and knows that he's on the vent and all that, and he's gonna come out like as soon as he can come see him, you know. And I'm like, oh thank god, like someone's gonna come help him. And it's out of my hands. That's all I can do, you know. I try to sleep for like a couple hours, you know, and then I came back out to like see him again, but he's just like unconscious on the vent, so you know. But then they responded and I messaged back and forth. And the brother was really nice, you know, like I think like, you know, you might have saved his life and all that. And I'm like, okay, good. He's on his way. He's en route. Like he immediately bought a ticket out to Juarez. And meanwhile, like this is my last day in Peru. Like I was already supposed to leave. I already had a plane ticket booked out, you know. So with all this said and done, I make my last visit. I go see him unconscious, you know, and then I leave. And that must have been so stressful for the family because they couldn't, you know, it's Peru, dude. You can't just call them up, you know? Yeah. No habla inglés.
Yeah.
You know, see you later. And they kept calling, no one answered. And so she calls me, she's like, are you sure that's the hospital he's in? And then I'm like, it is. Just go there. He'll be there.
Yeah.
You know, he will be there.
That is.
And I could sense like the panic in them, you know? Like their only contact is gone now, you know? Yeah. And I waited as long as I could. I stayed in Juarez as long as I could. And in a moment of panic, I hit that WhatsApp group who I did the trek with. And I said, are any of you here right now? At like 4 or something. Because I'm dealing with EG. And like, any of you can help me with this? And like, you know, it's 4 a.m.
Everybody sleep.
Yeah, of course. But you could just, there was like these moments where we're like, this can't just be me. This is like a nightmare, dude. You know, like this can't just be on me.
Like a nightmare.
Yeah, dude. And so finally, anyways, so to complete the story, he was on the vent for a while. I don't know how many days he was on the vent. I didn't hear back from him for like almost a week. So a substantial amount of time he was like unconscious on the vent. The brother did come. He survived. Everything is good, dude. He's back in Cali. Yeah. So, and I still talk to the mom all the time. She just wrote me Happy 4th of July. Yesterday.
Son.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare, but like it was your nightmare and his good dream, because if you wasn't there to go through all of that,
He would have died in that room by himself.
Yeah.
In the dark with his phone dead, where no one knew how to contact him. So.
Damn.
So the two realizations I, you know, came out of that experience was like, that was the single most important moment of my life. That was like my contribution to humanity. Like that was like, if I live and die now, the purpose is lived out. That was it. That was what I was supposed to do. All good, right? You know, like it's like, that's it. I don't need any like next thing, you know, like that's it. I'm like content almost with like my own mortality in this weird way. That was one realization it gave me. And the second one was like, if you go to a country, be ready to die in that country. When you buy the ticket, is it worth you dying in it, or are you just trying to go have fun in Mexico, or take like, I want every country to be like worthy of, like, if that's my last experience, it's worth it to me. Only because I do trekking, and only because I do some.
You do the extreme parts of it, but I like the philosophy. I
just not like in a serious way, more like do things deliberately.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Because, like, for me, it's like, don't just travel to say you travel.
Yeah.
And I think this goes down to my tagline: explore, experience, remix.
Yeah.
When you're exploring someplace, it's the things like. In your story, for me, I'm like, 4 days hike. I am tired.
Yeah.
I am running around with somebody I don't know. I am frustrated. I have to do this at the clinic. I have to do this bruh. It's like, And in his perspective, you're not even aware. Like, you don't even know
what's going on.
None of this is happening.
I haven't talked to him. I don't even know if he remembers any of this.
Yeah, you guys should know that every day could be your last.
Oh, that's it, right? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you can be super healthy. He was a fit dude, Mm-hmm. You didn't see that coming. And this is like a 1 in a million. Like, not many people get altitude problems like to this extent,
Like, I thought altitude sickness was you get dizzy and maybe pass out, And
then you're good.
And then, they bring you back to regular altitude, and then give you some like hot coffee and get back together. But like, fluid in the lungs.
Yeah, so his oxygen content in his blood was really, really low. And that's why he was acting strange.
He was delirious. Seriously delirious. Because your organs will start failing if he doesn't get oxygen.
Yeah, it was actually almost probably, it was already too long,
Yeah, because like, he's lucky. He's a lucky man. He's lucky to have you, because I don't know how. I know some people that will do the same thing, but not that many. They would have just left him there the first night, and just like,
and
making too much noise and I can't sleep.
Yeah.
I just walk away.
I look out for travelers like so much more after that, man. It's crazy. And the other one is I also like leave my location on for my phone. Mm-hmm. And if I'm about to do something, I like tell my loved ones, like, if you don't hear from me in 48 hours, there could be something going on. Mm-hmm. And I didn't tell my parents this happened for a long time. I was like back home for that break, like 6 months later in the summer, we were like swimming, and I told my mom, It
was that heavy.
Yeah. I didn't want to even think about it, or I just, It's like, I did MMA for so long, and many people have these like bravado stories when they do MMA. They're like, one time I was in a fight and I beat that guy up, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think when it's really traumatic or difficult or hard, like, you don't want to go tell everybody. Mm-hmm. You're not like proud to tell people.
That's part of the vulnerability thing.
Yeah.
It's like, because by the time you're on like day 2 of the hike, your body is like aching in places you didn't even know existed.
You're feeling the altitude.
Yeah, you're feeling.
You can't sleep. I couldn't sleep from the altitude itself. Yeah,
because of the altitude, because of everything. So you did the 4-day hike and you did an additional.
I did a 5th day.
Yeah, you
no
did
sleep.
A marathon. It's like that takes a like. I'm actually happy that you told me this story and we have it recorded because like it takes life itself takes a lot out of you. You know, it's hard. But like if you're gonna go travel, you know, I think that's like the experience people want, kind of like they want to do all these things, but like how can you even do these things if you're not able to even like recollect like your mind? Like imagine if it was flipped
and it was
right?
me
and it was you
yeah
and you're having this. Will it go the same way? I hate to think like that.
I don't think so. I think it was one of those things that like could have easily gone the other way.
The other way, right?
Yeah.
And
I think almost even if I think about it myself, would I be that lucky? I don't know, bro.
For me, I'm black, so I know today. They gonna just sling me to the river somewhere. I'm like, man, I'll leave him. Yeah, nobody gonna pay $7 bags.
I'd save you, bro. I'd save
bags.
you. I'd save you, dude.
If I call everybody now, tell them, look, they got me kidnapped for $7 bags. They're like, look, Daniel, we know you gonna hustle. You know, wait after this.
Yeah.
Good luck. Oh man, no good luck. Say beep, beep, beep. Nah, man. He like. It's crazy. It's crazy because life is precious. And I think what makes life precious is the fact that you travel all over the place. You go and search for your own adventure, you know, your own quest in this life. And I bet you $1 million that Peru quest has changed a lot of things. That the way you see a lot of things has changed.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at one point of the story, you held somebody's life literally in your hands. You know? And for me, that's like more drama than like expect. Like if it's for family, friends, that's a different pressure. But when a complete stranger's hand is on like on you,
yeah,
and then the people you're dealing with is like, how can we rope you into the
yeah.
deal? You know, like we know you guys looking like, so let's rope y'all into the deal.
I see blue passports.
Yeah,
You're the
same.
same. Yeah.
Come on in. You're invited to the party, so you have to not only like do all that, but you have to keep your wits. You know, you have to keep your like. Your processor just like because you don't want to be like, oh, I'm tired too, and they're like, oh yeah, so I signed here fingerprint, because some people will actually fall for that.
Yeah.
Some people will be like in such a panic mode.
They're like, I'll do anything.
I'll do anything. Just you know, let me. And before you realize that you're locked up in jail in a foreign country and you don't know why, because you were saving the soul. It could like there's so many ways. Even from your story, it could have gone like.
Yeah, I think so.
You know. That's
why I thought like for sure I was gonna like have to be a part of some hearing. You know. Yeah.
That's crazy, man. It's good that he made it out. You know.
Yeah.
He needs to see this video and hit us back and be like, "What up, dog? Thank you for saving my life." You know?
I think one day, like, I want to have that discussion with him, you know, but it must just be such a, not a good memory and traumatic. And like, I don't ever want to like force him to talk to me about it. But I also saw something else like this in the past when someone's like in this state, you know, and I wondered, like, does he remember? And like, how much of it does he remember? Like, how much of my story and his story, like,
collaborate?
Yeah.
I don't think that much, because I had a friend. He passed away on vacation. You know, he was on vacation, and he went on vacation. We were talking. He's like, yeah, you know, I'm in the Philippines, and the next week I'm coming to Japan, and la la la. I'm like, all right, you know what? I sent him a mail. You know, I need you to be on the podcast. And I didn't hear anything. I went, did my life, went. Then another friend called me and says, he's gone. And I'm like, the fuck you talking about? Like, I just talked to homeboy yesterday. Like, we were talking yesterday. Like, he jumped up, he fell off a balcony. You know? So, nobody knows. Like, nobody knows what exactly happened. Nobody knows. Only person that knows is him, and he's dead. So when things like that happen, if they don't remember it, nobody's going to remember what exactly went down. For all I can care, homeboy saw himself in Wonderland. The first day you guys went on that hike, he was in Funyun Land, and you played around and wee.
Yeah, it could have been from the first day that he doesn't remember it.
Exactly. So it's going to be hard to get some closure from him.
Yeah.
But as long as at least he's breathing and kicking.
Oh, I don't need it. I'm just curious to it's like, what did he process from that? But it's kind of like we were saying earlier, where while I'm traveling, I'll talk my experience out to my phone and ask a traveler I just did the trip with to talk his experience out, and we have two different stories.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on in your mind or what happening in your friend's mind. We may have a whole nother perspective on the same situation.
You could even ask two people that went on the same hike. That same 4-day hike.
They're going to talk about different stuff.
Totally different stuff. You'll be like, man, I had a 5-day extra bonus secret stage.
Yeah.
You know? And the others were, oh man, the hike was amazing.
I think,
yeah. Oh, it changed my life.
It was life changing for me too.
Life sucks. Fuck that hike. You know?
Yeah.
But the perspective of so many different people. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm taking that.
It comes together, and that's why I like to hear. But people don't want to always speak their minds, write it. But if you can get access to what they thought of that same moment, you have a better idea of the situation as a whole. Because you get to see it from a couple different perspectives, as opposed to just kind of tunnel vision, seeing it the way you saw it.
Really see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I know it's a heavy story.
And you want me to go to Peru? Man, this time when I go, I ain't helping nobody. I'm like, no help. I put a tattoo right here. No help. No help. That's when I get sick, I'm like, they're like, you'll see my tattoo. They're like, no help, leave it right there.
So that's partially why I didn't tell this story for so long, and that it hasn't been a part of any of my content or even something that I told my parents for a long time, right? Because I don't want people to hear this and be like, this is exactly why I don't travel. I don't want people to hear this and go because this is kind of in people's head, South America, scary, something like this could happen. And I don't want them to hear this because it didn't stop me. I'm out here for 8 months by myself, after this.
If it stops, let them hear it. Let them say it stops them, because life is meant to be lived.
Yeah.
And
if you think that's risky, life itself, none of us get
risky.
out alive.
Yeah.
No one's getting out alive.
No one is getting out alive. So you might as well find something that is closer to your calling. Because for me, I believe there are people out there that are like you, that are helpers, that will help you. And I want more helpers in the traveling community. Why? Because if I do get sick, I at least know that somebody's going to help me, And
I've had people help me when I've been down traveling.
Exactly. So that for me, it's more of an encouragement that yes, might not find you out there, but there are others like you,
Yeah.
And if you are watching this, you could be that person that helps somebody else.
That's 100% true, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
and the impact that people helping me through my travels, I was sick as a dog in bed in Singapore, and this Australian guy came back to the hostel and gave me orange juice that he bought. And it's like, what? Like, he's thinking about me. He knew I was so sick.
Mm-hmm.
Had such a big impact on, like, just, like, my mental health and, like, my feelings at that moment.
Do you think it was, like, while you were helping the guy, do you think it was, like, your memory of somebody helping you in the past that gave you the encouragement? Or was it, like, your training and upbringing? Or was it like a spiritual calling?
Yeah, that's something that I think is really encouraging though about like humanity and helping people is that like there was no other choice the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just responding to it. That's really something that's cool because like it was like an out of body experience almost. Like you're just going through the motions, and that gives me like a lot of like faith in humanity that like if we have to like you can dig so deep but you don't have to mostly, right? So like you don't get tested enough to know, but it's there. I think everyone can dig deep. And yeah, and I think about it like that too. Like when I was in the Philippines and I was riding the motorbikes and I was with a group, you know, I was like really conscious of like I was like, hey, are we going the right speed? Just drive the speed you feel safe. Mm-hmm. I don't feel it reciprocated. I don't necessarily feel like people are looking out for me, which is why I tell my family where I'm at. Cause like that's who really cares, you know?
Sometimes I feel like, especially when I was doing the last hike in San Diego,
mm-hmm.
I started learning how to allow the people around me to be big boys. You know, I didn't want to be nanny Daniel always like, you alright, you good?
I know, yeah.
You know, I had to now like seal my mind to be like, you're a big boy now. But when I did that, what I noticed is my other friend stepped up to the plate.
Great.
You know, and I was like, good job. Because now he's the one that's like, you good? You falling down? No, you alright? You know, Daniel, we need this. Boom, boom, boom. You know, so there's a balance there though.
Yeah.
You know, it's like giving them the ability to stand on their own, but like also giving them knowledge that you are there to support them.
Yeah.
I don't know how to keep that balance. Like I'm either on one side of the spectrum or the other. I'm either like all loving and caring about somebody, like, I don't fall down, but then I have like high blood pressure because like every step is giving me a heart attack.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I am looking the other way, you know? So I never personally, I kind of fluctuate between the extremes.
That's in me as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm trying to like, I want to just be like that, even if it means I feel slighted at times, you know? Like I want to just be like caring as much as I can with people, even if I feel like it's not reciprocated. But I do understand what you're saying. Like times where I've been really watching out for a group and I look up and they left me.
Yeah. Like I made sure y'all motherfuckers woke up early.
Yeah.
All this shit. And then y'all just gonna leave me?
Yeah.
Sons of bitches, you know?
And then I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm capable and they don't even know what they're doing. Like I'm gonna do my thing now, you know? So yeah, that's a tough thing about it. Like, you know, like feeling like you want to be helpful and responsible for people. And I think a lot of people will reciprocate it, but if you stop doing it, then so is the person who feels the same way that we feel, who might reciprocate for us and help us one day, right? So like we can't lose faith in doing it.
That's a good reason to keep on doing it. You know, keep on doing it because the person
someone's gonna carry the weight for us one day.
Yeah. So I think it goes back to what I said. At least making it look easy and simple. So it is hard. It is like heart attack inducing, but it makes you stronger. And I think they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Perfect example.
So, damn.
Yeah. But hey, man, life is good. I'm more appreciative of this life.
That was before this 8 months, right?
Yeah. So like that time home, I was like, do I really want to do this? It's kind of like the perfect time to be done. Because like I don't think I could have kept going right away. Like I definitely wasn't about to be like, time for Brazil. I was like,
you had that. How long did you stay before your next trip?
So I was only supposed to stay for a few months and then go to Mexico with my girlfriend and stay there, like I said. So it got delayed and I ended up in the U.S. for 6 months. Because, I had to come back and then book a ticket like a month or two in advance because it was all the way out to the Pacific, which is not something you want to buy last minute. And but that was great. I'm so happy I had that 6 months to heal, to rebuild my body. I lost like a bunch of weight too, actually.
5 days of that torture.
Yeah.
And, like,
not eating in that whole last day. Yeah.
Wow.
I was 170 when I came back, and I'm like 186, 190 pounds, 186.
Yeah.
I was 170 when I got back to Peru. And I like saw pictures of myself, and my neck and arms were so skinny.
Skinny boy.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, that was a long trip to South America. So it was great. The 6 months just like rebuild everything, rebuild my confidence in travel, like self-actualize, realize that I really did want to continue doing this and that it was so important to me, even with the risk. So it's not just like, and I hate when sometimes people see travel as this like trivial thing, like where'd I get the money? Like all this prioritizing, all this like planning in my life, no one sees, they don't realize that's happening. And then all of a sudden I'm traveling like, wow. And they don't hear stories like this. I'm still doing it. I love it. Shit doesn't always go well. I've had a lot of bad experiences.
Yeah.
Still love it.
Yeah. Especially I think you just knocked on something, the traveling money. Like, I think Suraj said it in the last podcast. He's like, everybody that travel is broke. Like 95% of all travelers are broke.
It's a shoestring budget.
Yeah, it's really on a shoestring budget that they make things happen along the way, and like the more you do it, the more you find like tips and tricks to get it better, you know, and like you're still on a budget, but like maybe you get like $50 extra. You're like, wow, today we eat the lamb chops, or something. So it's like, it is an experience, travel is an experience that teaches you about everything, it teaches you about geography, about people, about, laughing, social communication, like everything. So like, when somebody gives me an excuse for traveling, it's more than just
money, whatever it is,
it's
time.
It's more than whatever they're saying. It's like something else that you don't know or you're afraid of, and it could be shit. A lot of people are just scared of the jet lag.
Yeah.
Jet lag alone just terrifies some people. Fair enough. People say they're terrified of planes. Okay, I won't trust myself to a death machine if I knew it was a death machine. But guess what? Everybody in this death machine, you're in a death machine right now. It's called a house. So like
it's called a body.
Yeah, everything is like a death machine. So why stress or why worry about it? And if you can't travel, you can't travel. The location you are in. I don't care if you're in. Name a place that you can't go adventuring.
Oh, Antarctica, maybe.
Man, you got a lot of white. You could like start dotting the white spots and like.
You gotta have the right gear.
Man, you start chiseling on the ice and like catching fish. Like there's always something to do and explore, And I get, yeah, not everybody can travel. Not everybody has like, the growing up in. I think the people that actually like to travel, they have some kind of like travel in their background.
Yeah, when they're young.
When they're young.
Because that, whatever forms you, it has a big impact on how you live your life.
Yeah, so I when you said that earlier, I was like, I traveled when I was young. I know other people that did it that travel when they're young. So I see that being like a common place. When like you can explore your neighborhood, you could explore like everywhere. Like you don't have to buy a plane ticket to go. Like especially like people in San Diego, right?
Oh yeah, they're so close.
You got the border right there. I know a lot of people that won't even cross the border.
Yeah.
For what?
It's a day trip.
A minute, like it's 20 minutes, dude.
Yeah.
It takes me 20 minutes from my house to get across the border and like be inside Mexico. So
Yeah.
I'm like, why not even go there, like do that? But if you don't know how to even leave your house, how am I going to expect you to come out to Mexico? You know? You can't even leave the house. The house is your machine of death. You know? That's the one that you're in that you can't leave. How do you now leave that machine to like...
Out of your comfort zone.
Out of your comfort zone. And I think that's why I posted on my Instagram, like, they really like, leave your comfort zone. Because personally, I can't speak for everybody. You might agree, you might not. The only time you grow, I don't care what kind of growth it is once you are very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, true.
That is when things start making sense.
Yeah.
But when you're comfortable, everything is like, yeah, man. Well, once you're not comfortable, that's when you're like, fuck this. God damn it, you know? But once you're, you can like fuck off all that. But once life gets uncomfortable, and if it stays uncomfortable for a long period of time, in that short period of time or a long period of time, you're just gonna be growing, man. You gonna be growing to a monster, a beast, whatever, but you just gonna be growing. That's how I see life.
Yeah, I would agree.
You know?
And you want to have those comfortable moments too. You want life to be, palatable, but you got to have the uncomfortable.
You got to.
And that's how you develop character.
Yeah.
That's how you develop empathy, and then maybe potentially like serve a better purpose, So it is good for us at the end of the day.
Yup.
All right, man. That was awesome. Fucking great conversation. I'm glad we did this.
See you, man.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.